We started talking about education briefly yesterday. Yesterday, I did an article that was talking about how women are marrying men that are less educated than them. And so that brings me to this article that came out in the New York Times saying, at Black colleges, a stubborn gender enrollment gap keeps growing. Now, there is definitely a gender gap across the board, but this one is specifically about Black people. Okay, so this is by Clyde McGrady. It says only 19% of students at Howard University are Black men, whose enrollment levels at four-year colleges have plummeted across the board. 19%. All right, it says, before stepping foot on Howard University's campus, Skylar Wilson knew she would see more women there than men, but just how many more stunned her. Howard, one of the most elite historically Black colleges and universities in the nation, is only 25% men, 19% Black men. I was like, wow, said Miss Wilson, a 20-year-old junior. How is that possible? Howard is not unique. The number of Black men attending four-year colleges has plummeted across the board, and nowhere is this deficit more pronounced than at historically Black colleges and universities, or HBCUs. Black men account for 26% of the students at HBCUs, down from an already low 38% in 1976, according to the American Institute for Boys and Men. There are now about as many non-Black students attending HBCUs as there are Black men. The decline has profound implications for economic mobility, family formation, and wealth generation. Raj Chetty, a Harvard economist who uses large data sets to study economic opportunity, has found that the income gap between America's Black and white populations is entirely driven by differences in men's economic circumstances, not women's. And the wild thing is, in the comment section from Teray, that man who is a journalist who was talking about this, he brought up Black men's college rates. And what did they do in the comments? They went in on the Black women. And that is wild to me because this is a men's issue, not women's. The causes are many. Higher college costs, the immediate financial needs of Black families, higher suspension rates in high school, and a barrage of negative messages about academic potential all play a role in the decline of Black male enrollment and college completion. Howard estimates that its cost of attendance for undergraduates easily exceeds $50,000 a year. If we are serious about reducing race gaps and economic opportunity, household wealth, etc., then our attention should be squarely focused on economic outcomes for Black boys and men, period, full stop, said Richard Reeves, president of the American Institute for Boys and Men. And this is Skylar Wilson, the one earlier that was stunned at the amount of Black men at Howard. But now programs designed to nurture Black academic achievement may be dismantled by the Trump administration, which deems them racist, diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts. Cultural centers, mentorship programs, workforce recruitment activities, and scholarship programs are all threatened by the White House promise to cut funding to universities that do not eliminate what it calls racial preferences. On Wednesday, Trump asked the Supreme Court to allow him to terminate more than $600 million in teacher training grants, which would decimate two of the Education Department's largest professional development programs. Both were designed to place teachers in underserved schools and diversify the educational workforce. It's a perpetuating cycle, said Dr. Cheryl Holcomb McCoy, chief executive of the American Association of Colleges for Teacher Education. If you don't see other Black male educators, then it's hard for you to see yourself in that position. On Thursday, the Department of Health and Human Services targeted California medical schools for maintaining what Trump administration officials called discriminatory race-based admissions, though bolstering the number of Black doctors has long been a goal of the medical establishment. Put simply, educational institutions may neither separate or segregate students based on race, nor distribute benefits or burdens based on race. Greg Traynor, the Education Department's acting assistant secretary for civil rights, wrote in a memo to the university in February. Black educators say burdens are already distributed unfairly. Society undermined Black men's beliefs in their own potential, starting from early education and continuing through professional development, said Dr. Derek Brooms, Executive Director of the Black Men's Research Institute at Morehouse College and elite all-male HBCU in Atlanta. Colleges like Howard may be the starkest manifestations. Peyton Garcia, a Howard sophomore, recalled being one of 3 men in his introduction to a philosophy class, which has about 30 students. We did a Cuba trip, he recalled. I was the only male that was in the class. Recent shifts in higher education, driven in part by conservative policies in Washington, have wrought large changes in predominantly Black colleges, positive and negative. The Supreme Court's ban on race-based college admissions have drove up interest in some HBCUs and strengthened the application pool overall, Dr. Brooms said, but he's still concerned about the long-term trend. Dr. Broom said at this point, Morehouse may have to reevaluate its recruitment strategy, including looking abroad. Perhaps there may be some Black men in Canada who may want to attend. Canadian men are not coming to America to go to college. It's just not going to happen. On campuses like Howard's, the gender disparity is understood. Women run the place. This is Peyton Garcia who was talking earlier. Everybody knows the women dominate this campus, said Tamaris Darby Jr., a 20-year-old sophomore at Howard. You see predominantly women out here running for positions, and then you see their friends, young women, showing up for them and supporting them. It's different for the men. According to students and faculty at Howard, Black male students can have a difficult time finding both themselves and a community. One night last October, young men gathered in small groups on the Howard Yard and wrote down what they were most afraid of. I have a fear of failure, said Joshua Hughes, a senior who led the burning of the fears that night. I have a fear of letting my family down. I have a fear of not living up to my full potential. Some read their fears aloud before tossing their writings into a giant fire pit as a drum line banged African djembes or djembes. I'm not exactly sure what the name of that drum is. In 2019, Calvin Hadley, then a senior advisor to Howard's president, was asked how Howard could better engage men on campus. He put together a survey of students, faculty, and staff, and then hosted several barbershop listening sessions. Something clicked. We had these very detailed emotional conversations around manhood, around masculinity, around relationships, said Mr. Hadley, now Howard's assistant provost for academic partnerships and student engagement. Male fears can work against college attendance, students said. Fears of failure may deter Black men from higher education, even as fears of letting their families down drive them prematurely into the workforce before their earning potential can be reached. Mr. Darby said many of his friends didn't have parents or family who attended college, or they thought the costs were prohibitive. So they were trying to find those other avenues to make money and to be successful, not thinking that college was the number one thing that was going to get you there. As a middle schooler, Jaron Holmes, a 20-year-old sophomore, recalled thinking, college? What is college? He added, I just knew I wanted a job. But in his Detroit area high school, he enrolled in a college readiness program, and it made all the difference. As a general proposition, young men are arriving on college campuses less skilled academically than women, Mr. Reeves said. That's even more true of men of color, Black men. That leads to problems of completion, which are at least as significant as declining enrollment. The first year of college is crucial for male retention, and a lack of services can lead young men to feel isolated or that they don't belong, Dr. Broom said. If you can show you can keep people, that folks can persist to graduation, that becomes a recruitment tool itself, said Dr. Brooms. This is a long article, and I'm going to skip some of this. So I'm going to start here. Those studying the challenges that young Black men face are careful to avoid a battle of the sexes. Women have faced historical challenges of their own. Some people perceive female gains as a threat to men in a zero-sum battle for resources and power. Mr. Reeves says that this is a mistake, particularly when it comes to family formation. Asking the young men on campus how the gender gap affects dating will draw a sheepish grin. They understand their advantage. Young women are thinking about it too. Those ratios, says Nevaeh Fincher, a sophomore, can be rough. And that absolutely is true when there's more women outnumbering men. All right, it says, a lot of boys feel like they've got options, Miss Fincher said, which, if we're being honest, they do. The lack of college-educated black men could change family structures and breadwinning patterns, placing more financial burdens on black women. College-educated black women already have higher lifetime earnings than college-educated white women because they work more years over the course of their lives, despite lower annual earnings, according to the Kansas City Federal Reserve. For young women who care about the future of Black America in general, all of this is alarming. We see a lot of school programs in districts that are giving up on students and giving up on black men before they even give them a chance, said Miss Wilson. She's seen it in male students she mentors who say their teachers don't offer much encouragement. They expect them to be bad, she said. They expect them to be problems. Okay, so this was obviously a very long article, but the important thing is to note that many of these boys need to be caught. They need to be caught in school. They're not going to college because they're not being encouraged in school. Now, who's going to push them? Is going to have to be the men. But if the men hear all of these things and the first thing that they do is go to attacking black women, they're never going to change these things. Like I said, I was in the comment section and it was talking about the college enrollment rates of black men, and immediately they started denigrating black women. And that is not going to help them get any of their numbers up. And in this economy and this climate, you kind of need options, but some people don't want to take the risk that goes along with education. But by the same token, some people might not even see the purpose of it because they were not pushed when they were in school, like, middle school, high school, or whatever, to go down this path. Anyways, I thought this was interesting. Like I said, this is a long article, but let me know what you think, how it all goes together with everything else that we have been talking about. Join the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and